lot of ones right now, Lidicore. Oh, there's a lot of ones. Okay. All right. I think people are excited. I'm excited. You ready, Lidicore? Here we go.
I am.
Oh my god. 3, 2, 1. Here we go.
And take off. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome everybody to game number 1 in this best of 5 in between Vortix and Kasva in the quarterfinals of EGC Genesis. We do have Kasva in red playing as French on the north, and down south it is the Delhi Sultanate for Vortix in blue.
Very, very exciting to see Vortex on the Delhi Sultanate. So for anybody unfamiliar with the way that these civilizations work, this is very curious because we've got France, which is considered to be one of the best civilizations, going up against Delhi, which is considered to be one of the, I wouldn't necessarily say one of the worst, but one of the less explored civilizations. No, you know what? I'll say it. One of the worst civilizations. So we'll take a look at his opening. I'm very curious to see exactly what he gets out. So starting off with a mosque, dropping down a mill on the berries as you would expect, and now beginning to focus down a straggler tree. Interesting. So not opting to put a lumber camp down on the wood line? Just going...
That is indeed a little surprising over here. He has started to get a wheelbarrow for himself. Of course, with the Delhi, that takes quite a lot of time, but all your technologies are for free, so all you gotta do is start queuing up techs as much as you can, and he's opening with Sanctity as well for his scholars. Whereas on the other side, Kasva is just going to play the good old-fashioned fast feudal into knights build with the French.
I've never seen that one before, Lidicore. I'm just kidding. I've seen that plenty. Oh my lord, a second mosque going down. What is going on right here? This is a second mosque already. Oh, has he played Delhi before? Does he know how the mosques work? I'm at this on one hand I'm casting this game, and on the second part I'm learning what is happening right now, but I'm curious what we could expect to see out of this with a second mosque coming down like this so early in the game. Now keep in mind, the first mosque that you have got is going to be giving you a free scholar. So we can see that there is a scholar garrisoned inside. Oh, he's researching a second technology at the same time. This is very curious, Lidicore. I'm blown away.
Absolutely. Now, his gold mine is going to be very exposed, so there is a lot of risk involved with this build. But I'm starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. So, for those of you that don't know, the way that Delhi works is that all their technologies are for free, but it takes a lot of time to research, and you can boost your research rate by building mosques and garrisoning scholars in there. The interesting thing for Vortix, I believe, is efficient production, because this would allow the scholars to garrison into production buildings, and it's very possible that the way that Vortix wants to handle the French knights is by sort of just spamming out spearmen from a barracks that is buffed by a scholar.
Yeah, that is a very interesting point. So now, one thing to note, okay, is that the first landmark that that the Delhi Sultanate have got access to is the Dome of the Faith. And this is going to be reducing down the cost of scholars. So a typical scholar, it's going to cost 150 gold. So quite an expensive man, whatever it is, a religious gentleman. But compare that to the Dome of the Faith, and that brings that down to 75. Now, when you combine that with that technology that you mentioned, which reduces or increases the training speed, that is going to enable him to essentially have a double barracks, but for only 75 gold for that second barrack. So pretty decent when you think about it in that regard.
It is indeed pretty decent, and thanks to the berries here for Vortix, he can sort of match the feudal age time of Kasva. You see that he's just gonna be like half a minute or so behind, which is pretty impressive if you consider the fact that he had to invest into double mosques.
Yeah, I'm really curious about this decision to go double mosques. We actually see him staying on gold at the moment. Obviously, going to be getting more of those scholars out. But now we hear those scouts calling out. Vortix doing a bit of scouting around Kasva's base. He wants to spot out exactly what happens. Kasva looking like he's just going to play one base at the moment. So we don't see him taking any stone at this stage. Very standard openings. And only 3 on gold, so indicating that he's probably going to be looking to transition, whether into archers at some point or spears potentially, but at this stage, no indication of expansion, so we'll be looking out for that early aggression. Now, I will note that Vortix has brought those 3 gold miners in from the gold mine with 120 gold, so a very specific amount of gold. Still a little bit late on this age up, though. What do you reckon, Lidicore?
Indeed. His base is fairly well defendable, so worst case scenario, he can just jump into the TC to avoid the knights. And I feel like the reason why he brought in the villagers is because he noticed that Kasva is up to feudal. Because ideally he would have brought them in at 150 so he can afford the 2 scholars.
Yeah.
But he probably just saw Kasva being up to feudal age, and then you sort of can compute how much time it takes to get 1 knight to your gold mine, so you pull your gold miners back.
Can we go down just a little bit right now? Just a little bit. There it is. All right. First villager going to be going down. There she goes. So Kasva definitely getting one on the board already. So very nice for him. And going to be happy to pick that one up. So Kasva was the pioneer of that tower strategy that we saw where there were just towers all over the map against the French player. So we'll have to look out and see whether Vortix does something similar here or just opts to go with quite literally full spears in the early stages. Now Kasva going to be moving in on this front gold mine. We see the villagers coming back, trying their best to tank. The first attack going in on that front villager, but the second villager going to be taking the brunt of the attack. The spear going to be coming out. And that villagers, look at that beautiful tanking that he did right there, using the AI of the knight. But speaking of the AI of the knight, looks like this knight might be getting another pick here, Lidicor.
Indeed, and there is also Scholar, and I feel like once Kasva sees that, he's gonna try to pick that off. Now we see a lot of spearmen out, but I think the main problem is that Vortix has already lost 2 villagers, and he's just gonna be too slow to catch up with those knights that will start rampaging his eco.
Yeah, now one of the things to note is that not only does the French player have a way to diminish the economy of his enemy, I'm not sure if that's the right word, but he has got a way to sort of to kill his enemy villagers through the knights, but he also trains villagers much faster as well. Now we see another villager gonna be going down here potentially. Let's see if the third strike gets onto it, managing to actually repel it quite well, so not losing any villagers there. But we will note that villager counts right now probably going to be in the favor of Kasva quite significantly, maybe up about 5 villagers now. Let's have a look. 22 for Vortix. Kasva sitting on 28, so a 6 villager lead already. This is one of the reasons why people find the French so frustrating to deal with. It's because of this constant harassment.
Indeed, and it's just very, very hard to fight off. You see that Vortix is trying to get sacred sites, which will give him a trickle of gold, so he can sort of compensate a tiny bit for his lost economy. But I don't think it's gonna be enough to compensate for all these raids, and those knights are just picking off villagers like it's free real estate.
It really is free real estate at this point as 2 more villagers go down, and that knight looks like it's going to try and get out of there. If he garrisons villages, it might not go the right way. Let's have a look. It's going to be slow. If that knight gets away, though, it is... Oh, my lord, it got... Yeah, good. Good. That's what you get, French knight. That's what you get. All right, a little bit of an expansion now for Kasva, heading out to his initial hunt. No chivalry in just yet, but not yet also going to be gathering up any stone for Kasva, so no signs of expansion. Going to continue on 1 base here, which is sort of what we've seen in the meta for most players. It's a little bit curious how we sort of get different plays for different players, but now Sacred Site going to be challenged in the center of the map. And is that... How many spears were out there? Was that just 3 spears defending?
Yep. It's just 3 spears. The Scholar will get away, but that's gonna be an easy cleanup, and this is why I don't really like this build right now from Vortix. It's indeed great to have the Sacred Sites, it's a nice trickle of gold, but it's just difficult to defend.
Yeah, now we've got some archers coming out. Vortix got to be careful. There's a fair amount of spears out here to defend, so he's actually doing a pretty decent job and going to be using that gold. Now, keep in mind, the gold that trickles in, it's 100 a minute. But if I remember correctly, the Sacred Site the Sacred Site technology that Vortix has got access to increases that up to 200 a minute. You should be able to correct me if I'm wrong on that one there, Lidicor.
That should be correct. It's a lot of gold to work with, and now you see a lot of spears and archers out. The main problem for Kasva right now is that many of the knights that he has been fighting with were pretty heavily damaged. So he lost quite a lot in the middle.
Yeah, I'm trying to do the math right now in my head. I'm just thinking and going through it, but there's got to be it's got to be quite a significant amount of villages that is the equivalent of these sacred sites, and then obviously getting doubled up. The fact that he's got 2 of them with that technology as well, but yeah, he's sitting at the moment on close to 600 gold a minute with 4 villages on gold. He's stacking up 1,300 gold as well. That's absolutely huge.
It's impressive. I think I underestimated the power of this build here, although one of the key things for him was that he was able to maintain control over these sacred sites for quite a long time.
Yeah, and I think that's all he really wants. He just wants to get that little steady income in of gold just to help him out with a couple more scholars. But look at this defense that he's holding down on the middle. A lot of spears, a lot of archers, and France having a bit of a difficult time. Not words that you not words that you often say. But now Vortix going to be going up to the 3rd age already. And look at this beautiful fast castle build order that Vortix has got going here. I don't even know how he put these two things together, but this is impressive stuff right here.
Absolutely. I also appreciate that he's not moving out towards the 3rd sacred site, because he probably knows that he can protect 3, but he has just enough mobility to protect 2 of these sacred sites, because he doesn't need to destroy Kasva's army, he just needs to make sure Kasva doesn't have enough to take back the sacred sites.
Yeah, that's a really great point that you've raised with that. He could definitely, head down that way, probably capture that, but obviously wouldn't be able to defend it. And speaking of defend it, Spears now beginning to move out, taking out a lot of damage as those archers continue to fire on them. But Vortix having a bit of a tough time. The mass from the Delhi player is looking pretty strong right now, picking up one of those knights, going to be trying his best to chase it off, and we see the archers just firing off on those spears as they retreat towards the base of Kasva. Rather, of Vortix. I do apologize.
Kasva will now be able to neutralize the sacred sites, and this is the reason why this build can be a little risky to pull off, because if your opponent can just take those sacred sites back, then you're in trouble. But I think Vortix has gotten what he wanted out of this one. He got up to Castle Age, so these sacred sites are no longer significant for him for the next couple of minutes.
Yeah, that's a really great point. So the fact that he's able to somewhat distract his opponent by doing this, he's able to redirect all of the forces onto the front line and say, hey, France, if you want to take these sacred sites off me, bring all of your knights, bring all of your friends. You're gonna really need to fight for this. But now we see more upgrades coming through. Gone up with the House of Learning. There are unique upgrades in here, including owned blades, one of the greatest technologies available to the Delhi Sultanate, increasing the damage of their men-at-arms and their knights by +3. Also got Forced March here, which is a little bit of a weird, I'll say a little bit of a weird tech. It's an ability that you can use for 10 seconds that doubles the speed of all your infantry, but they can't attack. So you can think about it in a number of different circumstances. You can use it to charge with men-at-arms. And speaking of men-at-arms, take a look at these bad boys coming out across the map now, doing their best, going to be looking to connect now with the Royal Knights. And as you will know, Lidicor, men-at-arms do very effectively against those Royal Knights, as long as it's, not a 1v1 situation necessarily, but in a situation where the Knights can't really charge, can't really get a big surround on. So really looking forward to this. And take a look how many Knights are out, right? Or rather, men-at-arms, apologies. Bit of a raid now on the backside as well, Lidicor.
You see that both barracks are being boosted by scholars, so these men-at-arms only take 11 seconds to train. And the thing is that right now Vortix is forcing Kasva's hand. Kasva needs to fight, otherwise Vortix will just take the sacred sites and will just have an insane gold income.
Yeah, this is really, really interesting. I love the way that he's using the Delhi here so aggressively. I honestly expected coming into this game that he would be walling up with spears. We haven't seen a single wall out of him. He is just playing with these sacred sites. Got a pretty good spawn here. He'd be quite happy with this spawn. I do note down towards the west of the map, or southwest of the map, that there is this little bit of a cliff face that happens. So this cliff face didn't spawn between the two closer ones. It's only towards the top, but now we've got ourselves a little bit of a battle unfolding right now. Men-at-arms going to be out here, and look how hard they deal with the enemy units. Right now, Kasva going to be in a bit of a difficult spot because those men-at-arms cleaning up his knights completely. He's going to begin pushing forward and looking for those villager kills, managing to pick off 2 more villagers and really trying to extend his economic lead here. Keep in mind, though, that behind this, Vortix is going to continue moving forward with his men-at-arms. Has he got his +2 upgrade yet? Let's take a look and see.
He does.
Just the +1 at the moment.
Let's take a look.
Should have +2 coming in on the way.
Yep, it's still far away.
Yeah, still quite a while, but undoubtedly going to be looking incredibly good. I can't believe the tempo of this build order, considering this was a double mosque opening, Lidicor.
I think the impressive thing for him was that he could hold 2 sacred sites throughout the entire feudal age. That's absolutely unbelievable against the French. And Kasva didn't do anything wrong. He was going knights, he was going archers, he picked off villagers. It's just Vortix being able to hold 2 sacred sites with spears and archers, and Kasva not fast enough to punish him for that.
Yeah, I really like the way... Right now, Vortix is using so many of the Delhi bonuses. You couldn't do this with any other Civ at all. You know, the Sacred Sites, the faster training production facilities. But now, Kasva looking like he might be in a bit of a difficult spot as those men-at-arms begin to swing away. You can see they got their shields out there looking to block any potential attacks. And those archers trying their best, but this is going to be very difficult for him. Right now, in this position, I feel like the only thing that Kasva needs to make are knights. But those knights are getting absolutely crushed right now by the men-at-arms, and it looks like it might be a little bit too late as Kasva now gets put onto the defending foot and is going to be forced to retreat off this position. We see those villagers just exiting to the left of the screen. There's 5 more units inside this tower out here, Lidicor, so some villagers could be going down here. I suspect that's villagers. It is indeed villagers.
And I love how Vortix is keeping the archers in here. He's like, okay, come out, little villagers, it's time to die.
Yeah, I'm so impressed. I can't wait to see the flood of Delhi on the ladder. And you know, you got to really keep in mind these two players are quite evenly matched. This is a very these are 2 of the best players in the game right now. And this is Delhi. Delhi looking like it's in a commanding lead now. Not to detract from Vortix, he's playing incredibly well, but at the same time, incredible play from Vortix as he continues to move in, taking out these knights in hand-to-hand combat, and more men-at-arms continue rushing in. Just a nice little mass of archers on this backline to take out any potential spears, but at the same time just providing that cover support. And look at the men-at-arms just sweeping with their swings, gonna be taking down the majority of the forces now from Kasva, and it looks like we already may have an upset in the very first game of the very first set of the main event of Genesis.
This is the first time ever in competitive Age of Empires 4 that Delhi would be able to beat French. But as you said, this is looking really rough now for Kasva, because, funnily enough, he is the player right now that doesn't have a good answer to a unit. That's usually the way when you're fighting as French, you just struggle against their knights. Now he's the one struggling against the men-at-arms.
Yeah, this is absolutely wild. This is not something that anybody expected coming into this. We see just how tanky those units are, and it's really interesting to note, you know, as you mentioned, French are normally the ones with all the cards, but now they are not. It is the Delhi that are up in the 3rd age. It's the Delhi that have got access to that men-at-arms, and they're really going to be able to push. So the only real way to counter this at the moment is through his own knights in the Fortress age, or rather the Castle age, I do apologize, or with crossbowmen. But we can see from his resources right now, Kasva is not in a position to age up. He is not having a good time when it comes to his resource collection right now, because he doesn't have the sacred sites that the Delhi's got. Delhi looking incredible right now.
Absolutely, and we could even add the fact that the Delhi infantry could start making walls and sort of limit the movement of those knights. In fact, you could technically just wall in those sacred sites with palisades, and Kasva can never neutralize them.
I would like to see that. Interestingly, he still hasn't gone for this 3rd sacred site down towards the south of the map. So it's kind of surprising, because Scholar's obviously being so cheap. You would think it'd be quite easy for him to do that. And speaking of easy right now, Royal Knight going to be inside the base of Vortix, just working its way, just 1 villager, 2 villagers. Kasva trying to find an opening back into this game. Are we able to do a quick stock take and check the village accounts for these players? Vortix on 46.
And 56 for Kasva. Although, I feel
Sacred sites, they got to be pulling in a fair bit though, don't they?
Absolutely, and Kasva's got a lot of idle time as well. And soon, I think that the problem he's gonna face is that he's gonna get pushed by rounds.
That is a great point, something I hadn't considered yet. Now a little bit of a raid continuing on the back line. Vortix got to react to this. I would expect that we see spears coming out. There's the first spear going to be meeting out some of these knights. So rare to see a French player stuck in the 2nd age, and the enemy is up in the 3rd age, but still yet we don't see that upgrade from the House of Learning. Very interesting point to note there, Lidicor. Own Blaze still not researched here. He has been in the Castle age now for 9 minutes almost, and still yet to have any of these upgrades up. So we could see the first one that's got the Q on it, but still not yet. But now the fight continues underneath the town center. Kasva doing his best to try and hold on for dear life as spears now begin to get mixed in with the men-at-arms. And this is exactly what Kasva was scared of. And now the new objective is in: defend all sacred sites. Kasva has now got an enemy with 3 sacred sites under his control. Vortix in a commanding lead at this point as he continues to harass this town center. He doesn't even need rams at this point. point. He's happy taking him to the ranch with just men-at-arms, baby. He is doing an incredible job right now. He does have that +2 upgrade on his unit, so you can see he's going to be taking a lot less damage from that town center. As the Knights now move in, try and find themselves a little bit of a flank, but I suspect that this is going to be the end of the game right here, because there is absolutely no way that Kasva's going to be able to pull this one out. His town center is getting completely buried into rubble. More spears coming out, doing their best to try and fight here. Lidicor, is there any way back into it?
Nope, absolutely not. He's at 6 army right now. He's going to lose a town center, but right
GG
after
gets
that...
called. Jelly, victory #1 in the Genesis $20,000 Age of Empires 4 tournament. He is, as the Mongols, is not going to have access to the town center drop here. It is banned from the tournament, so he's going to have to look for another solution as to his victory condition. So Mangadai could indeed be it. All right, we're heading now into the game. 1 second to go. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get into it. Take it away, Lidicor.
Alright, welcome everybody to Mongolian Heights, game number 2 between Vortix and Kasva in Genesis quarterfinals. On the northern side of the map we have Vortix in blue as Mongols, and on the very bottom of the map is Kasva in red, playing as the Delhi Sultanate. He's very, very close to the water, something that could benefit him quite a bit here, if you think about the fact that he definitely wants to go for water with the Delhi.
This is a really curious spawn. I don't think I've ever seen this. So typically you will see players spawning towards the back of the map in the opposite direction, sort of similar to where Vortix is spawned, but on the opposite side of the river. So very close to the water here. He'll be quite happy with this, but do note there's no fish that have actually spawned super duper close to him. So he's not going to be able to defend that as well. Now, one of the things I will look for here is to see whether we get any fish laming happening. So for anybody unfamiliar, there's a little bit of a bug at the moment that happens with berry bushes as well as with fish. If you build a building too close to them, it will actually cancel it out. And there's a little bit of a bug that can happen where if you build your dock directly on top of the fish and then you cancel it, it actually gets rid of the fish forever.
It actually
whether we see that coming out?
We did get just one fish being replaced by this dock here. It's actually an annoying bug because oftentimes it's not intentional. You're not trying to delete the opponent's fish. It's more about just trying to place your dock and then you accidentally just put your dock on top of 3 shorefish and all of them disappears.
Yes, it is a very painful thing. I remember the first time that happened, I actually lost a deep sea fish and I was crying. It was terrible. But speaking of crying, Kasva's actually got a sacred site in his base. So this one is like, if you're looking for easy to defend sacred sites, ladies and gentlemen, this is it. You can just put a 2-tier wall around there. He's going to be fine. That's a basic income of 5 villages for the rest of the game. You got to think about that, right? Like, that's huge.
That is massive. And the defensive tower coming in here for Vortix to protect his fish, as Kasva's coming in to harass, but Vortix should be able to scare it away with the con. Or
yeah, one of the cheeky things that he could do here as this gets closer to being finished, just go and snipe a couple of the sheep. I love doing that with enemies who aren't really paying attention. But now you can see as that tower does come in that Kasva falls back because he knew what was potentially happening there. On the same side, or on the opposite side of the map, rather, we've got Kasva now looking to expand himself. He's got that fishing boat out. I'm curious to know as to whether we're going to be seeing some fishing boats heading up the river to say g'day to Vortix. Vortix is probably looking, how many, can we do a fish comparison? How many fish have we got for each player here? We've got 2 fish down here towards the south for Kasva. Vortix has got, I think, 3 fish up his way. And then he's also got more fish up the river as well. So 2 fish. Now, keep in mind, these are not deep sea fish. These are just shore fish. So there's less food there. They gather slightly slower. They do not regenerate. And most importantly, because they don't regenerate, what's the way to say it? They're not the gift that keeps on giving. The gift that keeps on giving are the deep sea fish. Okay? Because they continue, you can just throw fishing boats at them all day and they're going to continue to regenerate. But these shoreline fish, you're basically throwing villages for a temporary amount of time. And now we've got ourselves a little bit of a push right here. Kasva beginning to move up the coastline and going to begin firing off with his fishing boats. I'm curious to know whether he's going to have any issues here, but I suspect the dock's just going to be able to out-heal this. So a little bit... Oh, it's actually not even out-healing it. Look at that. This isn't. This is, Delhi is so unexplored. I don't even really know how their mechanics work. I wouldn't be surprised to see this garrison inside the dock any second. But we've actually got a little bit of a heal come out. And how many? Is that just one fishing boat that's healing that up right now, Lidicor?
It's repairing it with one fishing boat. An alternative for Vortix is just to jump into the. Oh, that's what Kasva's doing. Wait a minute. It's not only Vortix healing his own fishing ship. Kasva is using one of his own attack fishing ships to repair the other one that's shooting.
We have got ourselves, just when you thought the Mongols were the only civ that could be aggressive in the first age, we've got ourselves a little bit of a water battle nice and early. But take a look at this. Kasva now getting focused down by this tower, but doing a great job of just healing up his fishing boats as they continue past. And I love that they can traverse through this wall. This is really something that's quite funny. I wonder if he'd put a wall at a 90-degree angle adjacent to that, whether he'd be able to go through and end with a gate. I'd love to. Can you imagine right now a wall going across that pond with a gate in it, and the fishing boat open the gate and go through it down? I really hope we get to see that this game.
On a more serious note, Kasva managed to hold off all crossings over here, so all the mobility advantage that we talked about is sort of gone for Vortix. Ooh,
yeah, that's a really good point to note.
Kasva still has a scout here, and that is a con that goes down to the fishing boats here. Quite a significant loss for Vortix.
Yeah, it is definitely significant. The fact that the fishing boats picked it off as well. These guys are a threat. Can we talk about the stats for these guys? We're able to click them and see what sort of damage they're outputting at the moment. So it's a 7 bow attack on a 1.75 attack speed. There's no burst damage here, so they're not throwing out a second arrow or anything like that. It is just the single arrow, but still quite a bit of damage. He's now resorted to returning back towards his base and going to continue gathering up that fish. So throwing a little bit of, I would say, aggression towards his opponent. And I think this is kind of smart because he's feigned aggression. He's gone out, he's just putting a little bit of damage out there. And then at the same time, he's behind that getting those walls up. And that's all he really wants to limit that mobility. If his enemy wants to come and siege these walls down, he's going to have to bring whether spears, horsemen, something like that. And now we've got a sacred site getting captured in the first age, Lidicor.
Yeah, that's just crazy. And oh, a tower coming in here from Kasva as well, just to harass those fishing ships. The dock itself is enough to repair those fish, so it's not going to be that much impactful. But I like the idea for Kasva.
Yeah, if anything, it's just going to annoy Vortix as he's got this constant alarm playing in his head. And then, there might be a raid that happens in 3 minutes' time and he won't get an alarm for that raid and he'll be like, damn it. It's one of those really annoying things that happen. But now it looks like to the north of the map, both players going to be expanding. We see docks on both sides of the river coming up, and we've got ourselves a little bit of a wall. Ladies and gentlemen, we talked about it earlier. We see that gate actually going down. I wonder if he gates the other side. This is going to be hilarious. I can't wait for it. Oh, my Lord. Oh, this Deerstone's now going to be coming forward as well. So Vortix reaching that second age. Going to be bringing that Deerstones forward to buff up these units on the front line. The water wall is happening just when you thought the game had been figured out. Kasva brings in the new meta, the water wall.
Yeah, we can safely call this a nay wall.
Oh my god, you've got to be a dad with jokes like that. But now we'll take a look at the base of Kasva. He's obviously gone up with the Dome of the Faith. So we'll talk a little bit about this landmark as he looks to secure any potential advantage that he can get. And now we see ourselves a light junk getting around. Did he may have taken out the villager that was putting up that wall. As now the fishing boat's going to be returning fire, healing up those fishing boats as well. Not having too much luck. It looks like there's a second junk out as well. So Kasva trying to get that wall up, but unfortunately going to be losing that villager. And now these light junks going to be buffed up by this Mongol Khan. And keep in mind, fishing boats do, or rather light junks get all the bonuses as well that light junk or that land units get. So they get that. You can see that they've got on them. If you click on them, they've got the YAM network. So they get the plus 15% movement speed. So they do move slightly faster down here with that YAM bonus. But now across the map, we see the Scholar beginning to make his way towards that sacred site on the north face of the map. And already we're going to see Kasva looking to secure a potential victory condition. Though obviously it's not going to last too long. It's definitely a position that he's not going to be able to hold on to. But he is going to be able to distract his enemy as the hardened Khan continues to move up the map and slowly Vortix burns through that wall in the middle.
I appreciate this effort here for Kasva simply because currently there is no land army for Vortix, so the only unit he can pull to take this scholar down is the Khan, which means that the Khan cannot be used here in the middle.
Yeah, it's a really good point. I think he actually managed to get onto the sacred site right before it was due to capture. Look at that, so close. And now going to be losing this scholar completely. So a little bit of a strange decision to send the low HP scholar up here without defense. Even maybe just one spear would have been enough to distract that that unit. But now, I mean, it's only 75 gold. It's not a huge amount, but a huge archer mass going to be coming out for Vortix right now. So sitting on 10 archers here.
That's starting to get scary for Kasva. He did lose 2 villagers in the middle as well to the combat ships of the opponent. And now he's got some combat ships out himself. So he might be able to surprise Vortix's archers here, but if he cannot, then he's in trouble because those archers will just have free real estate to pick up here on the wood line.
It's free real estate, indeed it is. So let's do a little bit of a stock take. I'm curious, Lidicor, how many villages have we got right now? We've got 43 for Vortix, and at the moment, Kasva sitting on 41 now. Keep in mind, he does have control of that sacred site, so I'll call it maybe 45 himself. I'm still yet to work out whether we're going to call it 4 villages or 5 villages, but undoubtedly, as Delhi continues to be played more, we will work it out. And speaking of played more, a lot of light junk's being invested right now in this water, and you've really got to ask to what end? Because having control of this water might be good right now for the second age, but undoubtedly as we move towards the mid game, we get some Springalds coming out. These units are going to be very quickly killed. And speaking of the third age, we've got ourselves a House of Learning coming up right now, but it might be in a bit of a bad position as the archers begin to move in.
Oh no!
Looks like Kasva's going to be in a bit of trouble here, Lidicor, as the ram goes down as well.
He's in trouble. There's the attack rate arrow coming in, and that House of Learning is not going up. I feel like, while I don't want to go the game too early, this is one of those moments where it might actually end the game.
Yeah, now we're watching a second ram get dropped down here as well. Vortix definitely going for the kill right now and looking to really capitalize on it and demonstrating his prowess on the water with the Mongols. So it goes to show, even if you play the Mongols and you get counterpicked with the Delhi, Mongols still very strong on water and going to be shutting down the water at the same time shutting down the land. This is very unfortunate for Kasva right now as more villagers move out, looking to try and secure this landmark. A single horseman comes out. It's not going to be anywhere near enough. I don't think Kasva's getting this up at all. I think he's got to cancel this. There's no way this landmark gets up as now the ram moves towards the town center. Keep in mind, the ram can actually bypass the town center attack, but it won't be able to bypass the outpost attack. You can recalibrate or reconfigure the outpost to fire at the units, but the ram, the town center cannot. And now the villagers moving to burn down that ram. A lot of villagers going to be going down here for Kasva as 3 horsemen move out on towards the archers. So many archers here, though, for Vortix. Is Kasva going to be able to hold on here? What do you think?
I don't think so. Like, the House of Learning might go up, but this is going to be a doubt House of Learning here because it's everything that Kasva has building that right now. It's going up, but... It's at 28
why he didn't cancel it and just build it in a new spot. Would have it taken all of his resources? I don't know. But what's his villager count right now for Kasva? Are we able to do a check on that? 27 villagers for Kasva. How many villagers for his opponent, Vortix? I'm curious to see. 50 villagers for his opponent. This is almost this is definitely a doubt House of Learning, isn't it?
Indeed, and Castle Age is coming in as well for Vortix, so it's not like Kasva's gonna be able to capitalize much on that Castle Age advantage.
Yeah, this is unfortunate for him. Now, we do see some units getting built in those stables. Are you able to double check whether those are horsemen, knights? What have we got coming out of those stables to the north of Kasva's base? Got ourselves a battering ram coming up here as well. And gonna continue expanding up towards the north. Looks like we do have our first Lancer coming out now. So the Lancer going to be looking to potentially take these archers off guard. Now, keep in mind, if there's 2 or 3 Lancers, they probably would be able to take out those archers just simply because of their high armor. What kind of upgrades have we got on these archers? Just the +1 attack. Armor.
Yeah, just +1 attack here. But with a couple of crossbows coming out for Vortix, that should have made them no problem to handle. And I love this move. He's pulling up the rams to take down the towers so that he can secure the fishing eco up north.
Yeah, it's very smart. And speaking of very smart, over in the base of Vortix right now, looks like we had a little bit of a raid. I think a horseman or something coming through. Yeah, only 2 horsemen managing to pull a couple of villagers away from this tree line. But You can see how far Vortix has actually worked through this tree line already. Basically, the whole thing is just gone, but now this ram going to be cleaning up towards the north of the map all of these remaining outposts. And are they fortified outposts, or do the Delhi outposts just look that cool? I think that they just look that cool, don't they?
Yeah, I think they just look that cool. Now Lancers coming in for Kasva. He still has that Sacred Site working for him, but his opponent's got way more villagers, and I don't think that Kasva's going to be able to do that much with the raiding here.
Yeah, I suspect these horsemen are going to go down very quickly. We see all the arrows coming out from the town center. It's doing its best and manages to get away. The horseman remains alive with 83 HP, so a little bit over 50%. Now Kasva moving out his scholars onto the map. Going to be looking to collect some relics, I suspect. But unfortunately, probably going to get picked off. The Khan is going to chase it until the edge of the map, undoubtedly. The Khan loves to do that thing. But now Vortix going to actually wall off this sacred site towards the north. I love this play. I think this is super duper smart.
It's not Vortix walling it, that's Kasva's wall. So I think Kasva knows exactly that he won't be able to win a conventional fight, and all that he can hope for is that he's gonna get a villager up here, wall this off, and just capture the sacred site.
Yeah, this is very, very smart. Does he have a scholar in the area? Is he going to be able to take that sacred site? That's a horseman? I don't think so. It must have been that scholar that was moving towards the north. Actually, yeah, down here. It's getting chased by a wolf, though. Not a mighty infantry. It's going to do its best to chase it down. Now, I remember reading a post on Reddit. Somebody asked, what's the point of wolves? They're just annoying. This is the point of wolves. They are very good at harassing units that can't defend themselves, and the scholar is one of those units.
Oh. Here
nice little raid now.
Kasva. And
yeah,
the thing is
pretty decent.
The thing is that we haven't seen a lot of aggression from Vortix in the last couple of minutes, and he needs to be careful because over time, Kasva's gonna be able to recover.
Yeah, that's a great point. So if Kasva's able to sort of turn the tides here and just keep Vortix in his base, continue raiding him just like he's doing now and prevent any direct attacks with rams and archers, he's going to be able to even this up. And now we see the villager count. We've got Vortix on 51. I didn't see what Kaspa's rate or what his things were, but now the wolf getting taken out at the gates to hell, unfortunately. But speaking of push, now we've got those lancers looking to fight up against the lancers of his opponent, and the rams now pushing in. 3 rams going to be doing their best to take that House of Learning down, and Kasva got to be careful here as he falls back. He's got units on his enemy side of the map. He needs to bring those back. He had a couple of lancers over there. I'm suspecting he's probably got a few more. We'll take a look at the crossing, see if we can spot them coming across. Not yet. Heading up towards the north, so Kasva must think he can probably hold on, but that light junk going to be denying those walls. And also we see a gate going up there, so quite an expensive investment for Kasva at this point. And now we've got the Deer Stones coming forward as well for Vortix, so going to be buffing up his units, bringing those Deer Stones forward, going to be giving them that nice Yam network aura, increasing that movement speed, so any potential threat that comes in, he's going to be able to move his way a little bit further. But now Kasva going to be sitting on the back foot as Vortix looks to secure the victory here, and Kasva definitely having a difficult time. Is there any way that he's getting back into this at all, Lidakor?
Absolutely not, I think. Right now, we're looking at 45 military from Vortix. Kasva is sitting on 15, and he's about to lose his town center. He still has the Dome of Fate at the back, so technically losing the TC doesn't mean that he's defeated, but it's just a handful of Lancers here against a big mass of Archers and Lancers.
Yeah, it can be really difficult, especially because he's got these Lancers to fight. Now we've got a good game getting called. Vortix takes the second game against Kasva and is now sitting on match point 2-0 over towards him. But yes, it's a curious way that he plays, but I do like it. Now we are going to be heading into the third game in this series. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Dry Arabia. This is not game 1. This is game number 3. Players have opted for a French mirror, so spawning in at the north of the map. It is Vortix going to be playing the French and his opponent who spawns towards the south of the map. It is going to be Kasva, and this is a French mirror. We're in Arabia. It doesn't get any more standard than this for these two players. This is all we've seen on the ladder over the last 2 weeks, it seems, Lidakor. Who's your favorite coming into this? I mean, Vortix at the moment, he's up 2-0. Kasva, he's got a big fight on his hands, but he's probably feeling a little bit happy with this matchup. I would say a French mirror. He'd be very familiar with it.
He is going to be very familiar, and I think that his core concept was that he just wants to play something very, very standard and try to out-execute his opponent. As you see, both players are sort of racing for sheep here. Because the thing that you have to associate with sheep in this matchup is safety. The more sheep you have, the more you can delay moving out for additional food sources, so your food eco is much safer for a long period of time.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So on this map, we've got what I like to call the triple-double. And that is where you've got triple sheep that spawn doubly together. Also, you've got 2 spawns of 3 sheep. So the first one getting picked up there by Vortix. We saw Kasva fighting him for it. Can we find those other 3 sheep that are somewhere out on the map? They're probably going to be on that middle line somewhere. Nowhere to really be seen at this stage. So they are hiding away somewhere, maybe towards the corner of the map. But undoubtedly, players are going to be looking for those sheep, and another single sheep behind Vortix's base as well. So I think when it comes to openings, both players are going to be going School of Cavalry. Is there any chance we see the commerce, the Chamber of Commerce coming down for either of these players?
If you want to lose, sure. I feel like the School of Cavalry is just the way to go. The fact that you don't have to invest into a production building like a stable, you just make your landmark and you can produce army on it is such a valuable asset for the French. Speaking of valuable assets, Kasva's got a beautiful gold mine at the back, which is pretty well defendable, something that helps immensely in a French mirror. Also back gold mine for Vortix.
Yeah, that's a really good thing to note that both players actually having back gold mines here. One of the things that I've noticed with the spawns of Arabia, they seem to be pretty even with how they actually spawn with back and front resources. So take a look at Kasva. He's got back gold mine, kind of back berries, like it's towards the side, and then front stone. And then compare that to his opponent, who has got something very similar. He's got that front stone and then also got that back berries. Now, obviously, his berries, his gold is a lot safer. They're right next to each other, so, you know, you feel very happy with that kind of spawn. This is basically the dream spawn in this situation. But by the same token, Kasva's still going to be feeling pretty decent with his spawns as well. So a nice little mirror match that we've got right there.
5 villagers building a landmark for Kasva, only 2 for Vortix. This means that Vortix will be able to get a little bit more resources for himself. On the other hand, Kasva's gonna get the School of Cavalry up faster, and as you see, Kasva doesn't even have villagers going for Voot, so it's just gonna be one single School of Cavalry making knights, whereas Vortix is adding villas on Voot, so there is going to be a second stable or potentially barracks for spearmen from him.
Yeah, I would expect in this matchup, we're probably just going to see that second stable drop down. It is a very common thing. I've seen a couple of players streaming, top-level players, so Marine Lord does this. He goes for a second stable, tries to get that chivalry out sooner rather than later and just take more effective trades. So I'm expecting that we may see something similar here from Vortix. Keep in mind, Vortix and Marine Lord, both top-level players. Kasva going to be getting a super fast age up here, though. 350. How many villagers did he have on that thing? That is a quick age up.
That's a 5 villagers landmark, which is very, very aggressive. Usually you send 2 or 3 villagers, 4 at maximum on landmark. So 5, it's a race towards feudal age, and he's going to have that knight out soon.
Yeah, and keep in mind, that's going to give him the agency, the aggression advantage in this civilization matchup. Obviously, being French, your opponent has got all the same bonuses that you've got, but still, we see Vortix here. He's going to be able to drop down this stable. I suspect he's got 220, 230 wood that he's gathered up right now. Let's see if he drops it down straight away.
He should, and it's a blacksmith.
Blacksmith going for +1 straight away.
Indeed.
Very curious. Now, keep in mind, the French have got access, or not just access, but the French have got a special bonus where they get their melee techs for free. And not only are they free, they research instantly, but it is only once they've dropped that blacksmith. So by dropping this blacksmith, he immediately gets +1. Kasva doesn't have +1 just yet. As soon as he drops a blacksmith, then it will be turned on for him as well. But now we see that second stable getting dropped down, and Kasva looking to head around towards this back gold mine. Very curious decision from him. We see the knights coming out as well. Vortix looking to meet him. So despite having that little bit of a delayed age up, he's going to be able to match him in numbers, and I suspect he's probably going to be able to push him back with this second stable.
Indeed. I love the approach of Vortix here. So he knows exactly he's behind in feudal age timing, so he's going to be behind in knight numbers. So he's going to use the fact that Kasva needs to gallop from his base to Vortix's base. So right at Vortix's base, Vortix actually has the numbers advantage.
And speaking of numbers advantage, Vortix actually missing that knight that snuck past him. He's now going to be heading towards the gold mine. He realizes at the last second taking the charge. He actually took the charge with one of his villagers. The second one was managing to go along, and we see him pulling villagers away. It looks like that, oh my lord, that villager may go down. Does Kasva manage to get it? He does. He gets the villager lead right now with a +1. You might not think that's a lot, but that is a huge bonus. And now the second knight going to be coming in. Vortix looking like he might be in a bit of trouble here, losing out these early villagers. But take a look, the knight mass beginning to build already for Vortix, as 3 knights now to 1 for his opponent, and he takes down that first knight that came in. Losing, how many villagers was that? Was that 2 villagers that went down there, Lidicore?
It was 2 villagers indeed, but losing that knight hurts really badly for Kasva. The core concept of the French Knight Rush is that your units are very expensive, and you want to keep them alive using Chivalry, and it looks like Kasva won't be able to charge in on the vills once again.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So, one of the things to note now, Kasva needs to buy himself time in this situation, because this knight's going to go down again. The knight actually goes down before the town center, or before the villager can even get to the town center, so managing to stay alive there. And this is huge. There's a really big window right now, because you got to keep in mind, all right, that by losing these 2 knights, he now puts himself behind 2 knights, and Kasva is only on, I think at this point, 1 stable. We actually spot now he's let's take a look. He does actually have that second stable, so I do retract that statement. And now going to be coming out to meet this second knight. Does he get he gets the nice little charge there as well. Going to have an outpost going up on that hunt. Got action all over the map right now, Lidicore.
As we are speaking right now, the knight numbers seem a lot better for Vortix. Kasva just finished his own blacksmith, but now Kasva's gonna be the one on the defensive. He might even need the defensive barracks here for Spearman, because he would just be outmessed by knights pretty easily here.
Yeah, I'm curious if he goes into that. One of the things I've found, if you drop that barracks for Spearman, that it normally works out worse for you in the situation, just because you're a lot less mobile than your enemy. So you start getting run around from all different angles. Obviously, you can look to push out, though, if you've got that barracks down. So if you put a barracks down and you get a decent mass up, then you can begin to push your enemy's base, and then they have to react to you. But now we're going to see an outpost getting dropped down on the stone. So Kasva looking to take advantage of his defensive-natured play. In addition to that, that's not the first outpost we've seen this game. So over on the Hunter Vortix, he has already begun dropping down that outpost as well. But I'm curious if we can see knight numbers at the moment. Can we get a military population count? So we've got 8 military, 32 villages for Kasva, and 29 and 7 for Vortix. So Vortix with actually a little bit more resources in the bank, I guess, at this stage.
He is getting +1 defense right now, also expanding towards the hunt, and this is the punishing thing in the French mirror. The moment you get the map control advantage, you suddenly have hunt and your opponent doesn't. So you see Vortex is probing that hunt over there. He's just a little too early because Kasva's moving out just now.
Yeah, now Kasva going to be taking a pretty decent fight here. Going to be very happy with this one. Obviously picking up a lot of HP on his enemy knights, but keep in mind he's not going to be able to take them down. It's going to be hard for him to confirm any kills there. But at the same time, he is going to be able to get away from here, Vortix is, and heal this up. Have we got any chivalry coming in from either player just yet? Looks like Vortix has got chivalry as we see those knights healing up, and Kasva also going to be healing up. But now Vortix got to be careful. A couple of these knights getting very low on HP. The first knight going to be going down for him. So finally now Kasva going to be trying his best to even up those numbers. We see a wolf getting in on the battle as well as they bypass a boar. And plenty of damage coming out onto that at the same time. Behind this, we've got double knights heading in for a double raid. They do find the line of sight on these 2 villagers. Going to be getting some pretty good charges there. Going to be evening up the villager count, doing his best to do it as 2 more villagers go down. And Vortix escapes a 3rd knight coming in towards the north of the map. And Vortix looking quite strong at the moment. What would you say, Lidicore? Do you think this is an even fight?
It's difficult to say. I would think so, yes. Here's the deal. Kasva kept his entire army together, so Vortix exploited that. He dragged away all the knights from Kasva by using 2 of his own knights and then charged down the wood line with 1 or 2 knights of his.
Yeah, it was a very smart move. A really nice strategy. And, you know, people often, resident sleeper these French mirrors, but they are action-packed. You know, when you've got this many knights out on the field, there's going to be a lot of villages going down. And that's exactly what we see. Now we actually see early farms coming out from Vortix as well.
It's gonna take some time until that pays off, but the idea behind those farms right now, I believe, is that he wants to start investing to them right now. while the game is a little more peaceful. As I'm saying that, here come the knights to break that peace.
Yes, they're doing a great job, and we actually see behind this wall going up in the north of the map for Vortix. So going to be looking to secure a little bit of safety back here for these. We actually spotted he's got a mill back behind his town center, and he's actually dropping farms on it. And as soon as I saw that farm, I said, okay, he doesn't drop that farm without walls, and immediately we saw that wall go up behind it. So looking to play a little bit more safely. But now, speaking of safety, Kasva trying his best to get a nice little raid in here. He's going to be able to get onto one of those villages, but all of them make it inside the outpost quite safely. Have we got textiles in yet for either player? Let's have a look at the villager HP. Yes, we do have textiles in for Vortix. I'm wondering if Kasva's got the same research in. I would suspect in a mirror like this, and yes, we do have for both players that textile research coming in. So the textile research going to be increasing the HP. All of those villagers continuing to survive, so Kasva feeling pretty good, but there's a little bit of a hole up here to the north of the map. Vortix, oh, you got to be careful. Do you reckon you can get through there?
I think it's open. I think it's open
as well. Those knights are moving like it's open right now. Let's see how those knights manage to go through.
Knock, knock.
Oh, they go through. Oh, it's painful, isn't it? It is so painful. And you know what? Vortix has now put that space in the back of his mind and said, you know what? There's going to be no units here. And speaking of no units, a little bit of a raid down towards the base of Kasva. And at the same time, Vortix now going to be in a bit of a struggle right now because there's a huge amount of knights coming in at all angles. He manages to react, pulling back all those villages before a lot of damage happens. He's reacting well at this stage, and he's under attack at multiple angles here. Players just multitasking out the wazoo now underneath the town center for both players. And Vortix, actually, if we can take a look up towards his base, he's got no space in that town center, 19 out of 20. So he needs to be careful. Any more villagers outside that town center, they're going to get bungled up very quickly in the Knights of Kasva.
It's just the massacre of villagers going on both sides, and I feel like at this point it comes down to whoever lost less villagers, because both sides have taken considerable losses. Vortex is down to 36 and Kasva is down to 37. All of this work for just nothing. It's a dead even game.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So one of the things that we started to see with players playing up against French is mass towers. Now we see that over on this hunt where Vortix has got this tower ready to go with 3 villagers jumping inside it at the first sight of any knights. And I would expect that we see something similar coming out all over the map, whether that's berry bushes, gold mines. You know, the only way you could defend against these knights is by keeping your villagers inside those towers locked up, like the damsel in distress at the top of that tower. Another raid now going to be coming in around the top of the wood line towards the north. Kasva doing his best to try and pick off a couple more villagers. Are we able to do a quick stock take income per minute? There we go. Kasva got a lot more gold than his opponent right now. No real gold income at the moment for Vortix, and Vortix going to be losing a lot of villagers right here. This is going to doom him, I suspect. There are so many villagers going down. He's trying to get onto those farms, but you can just see the damage that comes through. There's too many villagers underneath this town center. They are not going to be able to survive, and we see him actually doing a little bit of a migration down towards his knights. He says these town centers are not going to hold it, but look, more villagers going down, and he's lost a huge amount of villagers. Are we able to do a quick stock take and see what the villager count is right now for Kasva? We've got Kasva sitting on 41. Vortix going to be sitting on 27. Kasva with a huge lead at the moment, 14 villagers. Is this the end of Vortix right now? Are we seeing that potentially Kasva finally getting ahead?
I think so. And the French mirror is just very, very punishing. From this point on, both players are still trying to spam knights out there, but Kasva's got a much better economy to back that one up.
Have we got any farms yet from Kasva at this point? Are we able to have a look at Kasva's base? He's got a couple of farms out, just a handful of them, but he is out on the map. He's got this hunt. Look how many villagers are down here. He's got double outposts on that hunt. Where is his second hunt? Oh, it's over a little bit to the west, but he's actually moving out to the boar. This is huge. So think about this, right? Okay, the farms. How many farms do we have up for Vortix right now? We've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 farms? 10 farms. That's 750 wood. That's 750 resources he had to put into a food source. Whereas Kasva comes out here, he says, I'll drop down my 25 wood mill, and I'll take this recurring, or this 2,000 food, which gathers much faster than your farms. And speaking of 2,000 food, 2,000 knights beginning to clash in the center, and Kasva, a huge mass here, beginning to pull ahead in the score lead. We see him up by about 300 points. Kasva going to be chasing away these knights. He does have that +1 upgrade as these players do begin to challenge each other. We go over to the current resources. We see Kasva not really looking to age up at the moment, but has a significantly greater income than his opponent. Vortix not on gold whatsoever. He has switched over to a barracks. Keep that in mind. He's got a barracks sitting over on his hunt, so he needs to be careful with these military units. We see he's got those spears coming out at this point, but I suspect Vortix is in a difficult spot. Whenever you start making these spears, it's a bit of an emergency, and so many farms coming out right now for Vortix. He's double layering farms on his town center.
He needs to. He's out of berries and he has no map control, and this is the thing where it starts snowballing. He has to invest so much into his food eco, whereas Kaz was gonna be more than happy to just take the hunt.
Yeah, this is wild. And you know, really, in French mirrors, the way I feel is the first player to switch away from knights is often the loser. It's, you know, knights are just so impactful, and the fact that you're able to really control the map. I'm curious to note, on that board that Kasva's taken control of down towards the south, has he dropped any towers down on that just yet? Up a little bit. Go up towards that boar in the center of the map. I'm curious to know.
Yeah, he's got a tower out there.
One tower.
He's got a tower
Yep,
out there.
one tower. All right, and now Vortix going to be looking for a raid of his own, but at the same time, in his base, he's going to be under a significant attack. Villagers going down here potentially inside the base of Kasva, but at the same time, he's actually sieging a landmark. So we'll go take a look over at Vortix's base right now, and Kasva is just in there running rings around him. There's 25 villagers that are in here safely. How many villagers does Vortix actually have at this point? Because his entire economy is idle. He's got 25 villagers. Literally every villager right now is idle from him. It is defending, and Vortix calls the good game. Kasva goes up 2-1, and we move on to game number 4. He's got horsemen. He can go horseman spear. I mean, the only issue is that it's not going to be the upgraded horseman spear. Now, speaking of upgrades, ladies and gentlemen, it is time as we head into game number 4. We are on Boulder Bay, and spawning in over on the east of the map, we've got Vortix playing the French, and his opponent who spawns in over on the west of the map. It is, of course, Kasva. Now, interestingly, Kasva's playing as yellow. How did he get yellow? Linecore, what's going on?
I have no idea, but I have a theory. So what could be a possibility, and I think that's the only possibility, is that the colors might be allocated to certain spots in the lobby. So if Vortix hosts lobby, and he has to be the host because he's blue, and adds 2 AI players for whatever reason, or maybe just 2 random dudes joining the lobby, and then Kasva joins after, he should take spot number 4, which might be associated with the yellow color. And even after Vortix kicks out the players, Kasva might not get switched to a higher position, so he retains that yellow color.
Oh, interesting theory. I'm seeing some other theories from the chat that he may have picked Team 3 as a potential way that he's chosen his color here. Very curious. Now, let's talk a little bit about spawns. This is an incredible Mongol spawn that we've got right here. So not only has he spawned right next to the gold, right next to the wood line, but he's also spawned right next to the water. This is incredibly fortunate for Kasva as he moves into this 4th game. He needs to pick this up. He's on the home map of Vortix, who's playing the French, so he's going to have a significant uphill battle for himself.
Notice how he didn't go for an Ovu to start with. He's going for a dog just as much as his opponent does, which is kind of unconventional with Mongols. Usually you drop your Uvu right at the start, just so that you can get that strong trickle.
Yeah, this already from what I'm seeing, I'm getting a little bit concerned. And now he is on shorefish. Does he have access to any deep sea fish nearby to him that he's spotted out? There's one out here. I wonder if he's spotted this with his line of sight. Are we able to go in and check his line of sight and see whether he's spotted this one out? He sees it. This is very curious. So from all the testing I've done, even if you were on with this, so it is much more efficient to actually go for that deep sea fish. So even if you go double that yellow circle, it's still more efficient than shorefish. Even if the shorefish is immediately next to the dock, it is still more efficient to go that deep sea fish. So very curious as to why he's gone for the less favorable units here, but undoubtedly, I mean, there's got to be a reason why Vortix on the other side going to be going for that deep sea fish. You see how many fishing boats he's got queued up in there as well. He means business when it comes to booming over on the water. But now going to be dropping down that Uvu as well, Kasva is, and Vortix taking away a couple of sheep of his opponent.
Indeed. So, as you said, Kasva is focusing on the shorefish. It's indeed an interesting decision to go for that, because he's from Age of Empires 2, and Age of Empires 2, the deep fish is much, much better than the shorefish when it comes to fishing ships. I think the key thing here is that the shorefish just looks very similar to deep fish, so some players might not know that there is an actual difference between your gathering rates here.
Yeah, which is kind of strange, I guess, for me. I know Kasva as the kind of guy who really looks into that sort of stuff. Obviously, he plays a lot as well, but maybe just opting towards this shorefish, maybe he's got something up his sleeve. I really can't imagine what it would be, though. But now we're going to look towards the transition period. Kasva, we can see he's gathered up plenty of gold. Vortix going to begin gathering up his gold as well. So now Kasva sitting on 200 gold. Got enough gold to age up and dropping down a little bit of a gur right next to this tree line. So do we potentially see a TC getting moved to a more favorable position? What's the thinking behind this gur?
It's possible that he might move the TC, or he just wants to use this gur to push it up to the wood line because he knows that he's going to deplete the wood line quite fast, and he wants to keep the TC on the gold.
Now, one thing to note that the Mongols have got access to here, I'm going to try and call it out. Oh, I saw it. I was going to say it, but it got put down before the silver tree. So he can actually look. So people often think about water as this source of food that cannot be matched throughout the game. And that's definitely true to an extent, but there are a couple of exceptions. And number one would be the silver tree. This is a booming landmark. If you can manage to boom like a madman with this landmark, you can actually keep up with the French economy pretty effectively. The only concern I've really got for him are the knights. So the knights are going to be able to harass him very well here, but you can see where his Uvu is positioned currently, behind his base. So he's going to be moving his silver tree out towards this Uvu. He's going to be dropping it down, and then he's going to be training doubled up. He's going to be training doubled up traders. At least that's what I suspect he's going to be doing. He may change his tune as we get a little bit closer towards it. But now you've definitely called that right. We see 7 villages dropping down this landmark. So you're definitely on the money with your age up theory that it was going to be 6 minutes. I was suspecting a bit more aggression, but nonetheless, now we see Vortix also aging up as well.
The tricky thing here for Kasva is that he needs to ensure that that trade route is safe. And if Vortix realizes that his opponent is giving up on water early, he's just going to go for a land army just as much as he would do it on Arabia.
Yeah. That's a really good point. So I'm suspecting now that Vortix is aged up, we're going to see a Hulk coming out, additional sails coming through, increasing the movement speed, and the second dock, indeed, there is a Hulk coming out. So going to be looking to deny any potential water boom over there from Kasva. We'll take a look from Kasva's perspective. Does he have much to lose over on that waterfront? He's got 5 fishing boats out at the moment, so not a huge amount to lose here, really. But keep in mind, he's got that town center on the front line, but that town center is not going to be able to provide a lot of harassment to that Hulk. The Hulk will outrange it, will be able to shut down that fishing boom very effectively. And we actually see Vortix now beginning to scout out the base of his opponent and saying, hey, just checking on what you're up to, mate. Just let me know what you're doing. And that's exactly what he does. So he spots that the town center's on the shoreline. But he will know that he's going to be able to hit that with impunity. But now we see the double traders coming out for Kasva at this point. Exciting stuff to see. I'm looking forward to the double traders.
Especially if you have outposts all over the place, because that's going to give the Yum Speed aura to the traders as well. So not only will you have a lot of traders here for Kasva, those will also move at lightning speed.
Yeah. Now, one of the things to note is that that not only does Vortix have this Hulk out here on the ocean beginning early harassment, his scout is now beginning to harass the traders of his opponent. So going to be chasing them down, spotting them out, and we see the first knight moving across the map. And keep in mind, these knights are going to have a much greater movement speed than the spears. He did not go up with the other landmark. What's the name of the other landmark? I'm trying my best to remember. The deer stones. So he's only gone up with the second landmark, which is the silver tree, which means he doesn't have Yam network for his spears just yet. He's going to need to wait for that upgrade to come through in the third age before he's able to do it. But now we see that knight moving across the map, looking to it's down in the bottom corner of the map. So looking to secure up that market. Now, there's actually a second market on this map, or a second trading post on this map. Lidicor spots it. It is towards the north, the coastal trade post. And this one nets a lot more resources. So one of the things to note is that if you do maintain control of the map, you're going to be able to maintain control of that coastal trading post. So now we're going to see the first trader go down. We're going to click on that trader, see how much they're bringing in. 137 gold, but already both of them going to be going down Lidicor. This is pretty big.
It is big. It's just such a big distance here for Kasva to cover. It's not really a good market spawn for him simply because it's just such a big distance to cover, and that's a bigger distance to defend.
That's exactly it. Then keep in mind the Mongols don't have access to walls, don't have access to keeps, so they've got a lot of mobility, but at the same time they've got a lot of openness in that they can't really control much of the map, with the exception of their units. But Kasva now continuing to get harassed out here on the water, going to be losing out the water here, and doing his best to try and hold on. But now going to continue. He gets a light junk out. Don't know what he's going to be achieving with that. He's going to be trying his best, but I think Vortix is definitely proving why the French are so strong.
And there's archers out now. That's the main problem for Kasva. He can hold off a couple of knights at the spearmen, but the moment archers hit the field, he's going to lose control over that market, and without a market, his economy is just going to be so much weaker than the French player's eco.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. So I mentioned earlier that, you know, you've got the water that can be matched by the land economy, if you can get that trade rolling. But the problem is getting that trade rolling is so much greater of an investment. Whereas with water, you know, you're basically losing 30 seconds at most, and you're making so many villages out of that. You're getting 5-6 villages. Are we able to take a quick look at the water and see how many fishing boats are out at the moment now for Vortix?
He's got quite a few out, and that's the way to play this. He knows he has one water, so the safest investment in terms of economy is getting fish in.
Yeah, it's really, you know, and on top of that, he's going to be securing this food source. It's a secondary food source. He's not going to need to transition into farms super duper early either, and he's going to be very happy throughout the game. All of his food's going to be coming from fish.
Indeed, and technically he can even add the naval traders so that he can trade with the coastal trade post.
Yeah, there's really, the sky is the limit when it comes to your water economy. And we see why the French is so strong on a map like this. Now those rams coming forward. A second ram going to be added in now for Vortix as well. And that push really beginning to come through. Are we able to take a look at the spawn of Vortix? I'm curious. Just one of the things I'm noticing is he is actually so just a little bit down to the south. Sorry, the south of his base. Take a look at his tree line. He's got a very defensible tree line here. It would have been difficult for any units to try and get through there. They would have been taking fire from the TC, almost guaranteed. I don't even think that Kasva would have been able to push through if he wanted to do any kind of early aggression with a spawn like this, because this is an incredibly defensible spawn on the front line. But now Kasva coming in with some light junks, going to be trying to do some damage to these fishing boats, use his mobility here, but it feels like it's a little bit too late at this point.
Yeah, it's just far too gone. At this point, Vortix can lose all those fishing ships and he will still have the advantage, simply because he piled up so much resources already. And he's got a big ball of units moving forward as well.
Yeah, this is a very concerning push right now coming through here. Vortix looking like he's in a dominating position here. Even though scores look quite close at the moment, less than 300 points between the two players, there are a lot of idle traders now. Now, Vortix is sort of getting his own done to him here, getting idled up with the fishing boats on the back line, but he's going to be able to rebuild those fishing boats without too much of a hassle. The Hulk's going to be able to deal with it, and now these rams are really coming in to put the nail in the coffin.
Indeed, they're coming in. Right now, Kasva's trying to mass an army of horsemen and spears, but knights and archers are clearly superior to horsemen and spears.
Yes, they definitely are. I know from my experiences playing China, it is definitely not the fight you want to be taking. Now, Kasva looking to move in here. Only a few horsemen. You know when your opponent's got more knights than you've got horsemen, you're going to have a bad time. That Hulk is back there as well. So in the event that Kasva pushes Vortix back, he's always going to be able to fall back towards this Hulk. The Rams now beginning to move in 20 villages inside the town center. A couple of pokey boys getting in on top of those knights, but they're not going to have a lot of success now connecting with the archers. And we're going to be seeing that Hulk firing in shots as well if Kasva gets too close to that shoreline. villagers coming out of the town center now, going to be doing their best to try and force these rams back, but that town center is going down today. That is 2 rams, and that's too much for him to be taking down and contesting. Spears now getting picked off one by one as he moves towards the coastline. We see that Hulk firing in. It's going to be doing its spin to win micro. You guys know the rules. It's got to spin to win. But there it is, the harpoon, and now Kasva in a very difficult position. It looks like he may be bowing out. We're in the 4th game right now. This is match point. If Kasva loses this game, Vortix will take the series and move on to the semi-finals. The first ram, it looks like it's going to be going down. Only a slithering of health left. And the game gets called, ladies and gentlemen. Kasva taps out and moves on to the next round. Vortix does. Congratulations go over to Vortix. Congratulations to everybody who suspected that he would be the victor in this game. Congratulations. And what an absolute game right there at the end.